All right, so that's pretty quick. We've done the first sort of stage here. We're just removing all the old glue. Quickest thing I found, just a chisel. Sharpen it up, and you'll have to keep sharpening it because you're obviously rubbing it against steel. That'll dull it pretty quick. But as you saw in the time lapse there, nice sharp chisel just peeled the, you can sort of see it there, just peels the sticker off. Then I'll come along and sand that with some 80 grit just to take the rest off and rough the surface up in prep for the new glue. You can see this here, like that's pretty bare, clean metal. I'm not going to reprime that because each window takes 4 tubes and at $40 a tube, and I make sure it's liberally applied. So we make sure all these bare metal spots cop a pretty liberal dose. So I think that's actually gel. Anyway, but what you'll find, and as I've found with this, there's not a lot of glue holding these windows in, right? And some windows you'll find, I had to go around and check them all, I've tapped them all and banged all the windows. You'll actually find, probably, whatever coat you buy, most of the windows are barely stuck in, especially the older ones. Yeah, so the rear windows, yes, I've broken them, but in reality they only broke because you pull them out, you know, and see up here, you can see there's a bit of rust in the rail here. So the surface is separated there, and the glue's obviously been stuck to the top layer. But, so the window's loose. You probably find this is what's really holding it in and sealing it. As soon as you cut that away or it cracks, the window's pretty well free to fall out. So they're not, I found every window I've cut out, it was a bit of a challenge to get out, but yeah, I found that once I'd pretty much cut the outer layer of, you know, this, I guess it's the finishing layer of Sikaflex off, they came out pretty easily, and they'd only stuck in a couple of spots. So just be mindful of that, and that's why I'm not really, I'll sand this down. I'm not going to bother priming it again because I want the windscreen glue to stick to sanded bare steel. That's probably the best way to grip it, and then it'll all get sealed up anyway as time goes on, so no water or moisture will get in there anyway. And yeah, biggest tip I've got for you, go and buy shares in Sika. I'll probably help with the profits, but you also will too when you're gluing your windows in. Another good tip as well, especially with some of the older windows, because I mean not everybody can afford to replace every single window, and we're certainly not going to. The glass that's in good nick is staying in, but just be careful on the edges here. Always wear gloves, make sure you're wearing gloves, but just be careful around the edges here. I just scraped that off there. These windows, I don't know how old these windows are, but the edges of the windows are quite fragile. So when you're running tools and things up and down there, you can actually really chip it's not hard to chip the edges. So it's very hard to do this one-handed, but when I come back up there and remove the rest of that glue, like that, see the edge of the window, the edge of the glass is sort of very easy to damage. So just be careful with that, and just take your time. It's probably the best thing. Yeah, just take your time with the glass and make sure you wear protective gear. I had just a pain break over the back of my neck before, and yeah, still fishing glass out of my shirt, I think. The other thing is don't cut too far, because you don't want to cut under the glue of the window next to it. All right, just take what you need to take out, and then I'm going to sand this window frame now. We'll come back in a bit because we've got to trim some cabinetry there, and I'll show you how to do that. So I'm going to get on and sand for a bit, and I'll check back in with you shortly. All right, so the issue now, well, it's not really an issue, but because we were umming and ahhing about windows for so long and how we're going to do it, originally I was going to make windows swing and all this fun stuff. Anyway, we got on to Nick at Alfab, and that bloke and his team, they're a wizard. I'll put a link in the description below to them. Australian company. Nick said to me, anything with glass, I can pretty much do it, so I took his word for it, and he's done a beautiful job. So the issue we've got now is if I actually had understood the level of skill that those guys were capable of, I probably would have got them to make me the swinging windows anyway. But anyway, we went down this path. So getting sidetracked, the issue we have is when I originally fitted all the cabinetry, this bench top went right to the original glass, and so did this. So now we've got to trim that away because we've got a frame now that sits in here. Not a big deal, it's just a pain. And just use a nice sharp timber bit on a multi-tool, and make sure that your first cut is actually cutting the I guess it's melamine or whatever it is, the top layer. Cut through that first, right? Because then it doesn't chip. And those multi-tools are really good at doing it. I did it on the other side, and I've done it to the cabinet down the back to make the other window fit. So we've roughly worked out from the last window 25mm in. That's about as far as the frame goes. So I'm going to measure out to there now, rule across, 25 here, take a line up, trim all that out, and then our window will go in. I've got to do a little black out, obviously, to black this section out because you can see that. That's fine. I'll show you how to do that. Yeah, we'll just keep going here. Righto kids, ooh, there's our cut. Doesn't have to be perfect, but it's pretty good. Alright, I'm going to show you the really quick way to apply vinyl. Your vinyl, cut that to size, rag, ooh. And one of these, oh god my knees, one of these things, You don't have to use that. It can just be, doesn't have to be hard plastic, but like that's fairly flexible. But yeah, probably buy one of those on eBay. So this is our window. This is, I learned this the other day. So just spray a heap of water on, like that. Get your vinyl. If you can peel this off. Vinyl peeled away. Sorry that took so long. Like so. Don't let it stick on itself. Now the water puts a layer between the vinyl and the window. What you can actually do, not going to let me do it. Let's chuck a bit more water in there. Right. So now what you do is work your way across and squeeze the water out. I don't know if you can see here. Hope that's a bit better for you. But no bubbles. And you just work the water out. You see it sort of squirt out. And so that just lets the vinyl stick, but it gives the air somewhere to go as well. The air follows the water, so you just keep working along. See, some of those bubbles are coming out. That's just water, residual water. And just keep like that. Now you don't have to cut it perfectly to size, because what you can do after, when this is stuck in, what I'll do is I'll come back with a ruler and a scalpel and I'll trim it perfectly to size. That is how you apply vinyl without getting bubbles in it. Done. Right, let's go bang that in. Got our window up here. Yes, I did lift it up here by myself. They're not too heavy. We're just gonna, first step is always just slip it in and check. Anyway, check that it fits. If you know, you know. Anyway, so we're just gonna check that it fits, because I notice there's some little dents here, and also the weld on the side of the windows there. I haven't had any issues with the other windows, and we allowed, I think, about 2.5mm clearance anyway. So we're just going to chuck the window in, make sure it fits okay. It should fit. And then we'll start gluing it in. So without thinking about it too much more, Alright, so you can see a little bit of tapping, and she went. And that's okay, I don't mind it being that tight. You want these things to be a fairly neat fit. So, mill line right with the windows, the existing glass, so that will bring the frame out to there. Like I said, there's always little bit of weld or something, which that seems to be sitting on. You'll find if you use the right glue, the window glue, windscreen glue, as soon as it grips, as soon as it touches, it grips, and so yeah, your window goes in. It's pretty easy. So right, I'm going to get on and start squirt glue around, and we'll get it fitted. There's something to think about too. So there's your rain rail or rain gutter. Squeeze a line of sealant behind that first, just before we put this in. It's just a safety precaution, or not safety precaution, but you know, good precaution. Nice big fat tube. Don't be scared to be fairly liberal with it. You can squeeze it a bit down like that, so it'll give you a nice tall bead. And yeah, away we go. There it is, kids. She's in. And This we can come back and trim off later. That's okay, don't worry about that. So there's a little bit in there too. That's good, we can trim that out later as well. Better clean that. I'll let that go off on the floor there. But yeah, so now we just let that cure, and then we come back and we fill all in the backs and the fronts, you know, in the front edge. Finished up nicely. Anyway, I reckon that'll probably do for this one. Had a couple little visitors come down and say hi. But yeah, I'll get back into video making and we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's pretty much how you put a window in, or pull a window out and change it. I didn't show you the pulling out bit because I was too embarrassed after smashing one. So, but yeah, it's not hard. You just got to be patient, take your time. And anyway, see you on the next one.